Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Koki Otaku. Today with us we have a very special guest. Fresh off Anime USA. He stars yeah, where we saw him in person. So he voices Stark in Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, Aoshi Tokimitsu in Blue Lock, Leon Fo Bartfort in Trapped in the Dating Sim. The world of Otome games is tough for mobs.
Love that.
Let me take a reader. That's a long one. Also, he voices Senta Yamada Asaemon in Hell's Paradise. I am not even going to try to pronounce that one. I tried. I was like, no. It's Temenos in Mistral in Octopath Traveler 2, the video game, and Taiga Tsugeura in Windbreaker. So, without any further ado, please give it up for Jordan Dash Cruz.
How's it going, everybody? So, thank you so much for the introduction. I'm really stoked to be here. Like you guys said, fresh off of Anime USA, which was a lot of fun. Had a great time with my castmates, and honestly, it was, golly, I don't think I'd been to Washington, D.C. in about 20 years. The last time I was there was for a field trip in middle school, I think, where we just kind of went around and saw some of the monuments and everything like that. So it was cool to go back to the area and just meet fans and have a good time.
You're right. I think in this podcast, most of the time we met the voice actor here to the recording studio, virtual, and then sometimes we met in person. There's only two people we met in person first, and then we record. Natalie Vanstein and now Jordan.
Oh, perfect. That's awesome. Natalie's really cool too. She's very sweet.
Yeah, such a great person. So Jordan, thank you so much for seeing me again one more time after 2 days of Anime USA. That we were like seeing each other like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I think so. Yeah, I think it might have been Friday and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday potentially. One of those 2 days.
Those 2 days. We call it those 2 days. So let's start with one of the topics that we spoke during Anime USA. For those who didn't make it to Anime USA, we're going to give you a small taste of what we experienced during this weekend, because we're going to open with one of the latest series, very important in the anime industry, especially Crunchyroll, talking about Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, where you had the main character of Stark. For those of us who haven't seen this series, like Kiara, how would you describe this series?
Honestly, like for Frieren, like I always like to describe it. It's like an anime version of Lord of the Rings. So like if you're into Lord of the Rings, like fantasy, it's like a true fantasy. So it's not an isekai or anything like that. Which, nothing against isekai, but it's cool to have like just a full blown fantasy, not one where it's the person comes in from the other world. And it's about a journey. The current journey is Frieren, who's the main character. She's an elf. She is about 1,000 years old. And because she's an elf, she experiences time differently than a lot of other races. So humans, who only live to be from 80 to 100 years old, they live a tenth, if not even less, than what she lives. So for them, it's the little things where it's like, oh, hey, this is a 10-year journey that we went on, and this was like, an eighth, a ninth of our life. Whereas for Frieren, she's like, oh, 10 years, like this is nothing. So it's a little bit of that. It's a little bit of like dealing with time. The show kind of seamlessly transitions from the past to the present. I don't want to give away too many spoilers or anything like that. But it's essentially like her old party and her new party, and you kind of get to see a little bit of like her old party and the adventures they went on, and how that has affected the new party and the adventures that they're going on. And Frieren's just kind of trying to understand and be better at getting to know the people that she's with, because for her old party, she feels a sense of guilt because she never got a chance to really get to know them, because to her, she's used to living for so long. So she's like, oh, this is fine. This is just a simple journey. And she realizes, hey, now that these people that I care about are gone, I miss them, and I won't be able to like get them back. So maybe I should start to paying attention to some of the humans that I'm with and doing my best to get to know them and understand them.
By the way, Jordan, feel free to throw a spoiler here.
Okay.
6 months already, so you have
Okay, that's fair.
This internet spoiled you, with those meme and reels. So at this point, I say after 4 weeks, there's no spoiler already.
Okay, totally fair.
Frieren.
So, yeah, definitely. I have to confess something here. So,
Okay.
many people love this series from the beginning for some reason, and I sometimes say that it depends what's going on, private issue, personal, what's going on. That sometimes these feelings can affect your reaction to the anime series. It could happen before, and for some reason, this series didn't hit me immediately. However, I acknowledge the beauty in that first episode, the image, scenario, the tone, and something that really hit me hard. I feel it gave me kind of existential depression, kind of. But because it really made me think about, whoa, life is most of the time we walk out there like life is forever, and suddenly we have this character telling you how short is life from her point of view.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, life is just nothing next to this character. So it really had me having some meditation, thinking about everything going on. So I was like, this is so much funny feeling going on at the same time, and I really got very, very engaged with the series, because you're here when we have the background story of Stark. When that episode, when they spoke about his brother relationship and who he is, like, okay, now I'm full into this series. For those who haven't seen this series, who is Stark in this series?
Yeah. And I loved that episode too. So Stark, because we go with the German pronunciation. So Stark is like the warrior of the trio. He's the orange-haired teenage boy. He deals with a lot of self-esteem issues, primarily due to the upbringing that he had with his family, because he came from a family of warriors. And when he was a kid, his father treated him like he was trash. He treated him like he wasn't worthy of being a warrior. It was the whole comparison to his older brother. Like, why can't you be more like Stoles? Why can't you do this? You're a coward. You're more of a failure. Like, you're not, you'll never really be a warrior. At the very least, I'll never, acknowledge you as one. So he deals with a lot of self-esteem issues because of that. And he comes to the realization that a lot of people have actually considered him a warrior despite his own thoughts about himself. We find out that his brother had always, because he had a very good relationship with his brother. His brother was probably the one person he actually had a good relationship with in his family. His brother had always considered him a warrior. Aizen, who's his mentor, had always considered him a warrior. They never told him in person, like, oh, hey, I acknowledge you as a warrior, but rather it was their actions towards him, like making him a Hamburg steak, the way that they treated him. It was very much, hey, we acknowledge how strong you are, and we acknowledge that you're a warrior. But yeah, he deals with a lot of self-esteem issues. He's a bit of like a funny character at times. He can be somewhat of a scaredy cat. He's very naive, especially towards women. So with Fern, he always gets into trouble because he won't know something, or like he'll say something where he doesn't think it means anything, and then Fern will get upset. So that's always a fun little dynamic to see. But I am hoping, this is for all the shippers out there. I'm hoping that both Stark and Fern end up together, because that'd be really cute. But yeah, that's a little bit of who Stark is. Warrior class, very, very strong. I mean, he defeated a dragon in one hit. And he defeated one of the demons in one hit. Like one good hit. It was his little lightning strike where he cuts, that one demon in half. So yeah, he's a pretty interesting character, very likable, very down to earth, he's normal, but like relatable. He's a very relatable character, and I'm very honored that they picked me for the role. It really meant a lot.
Was that a challenge for you, having a character where it has to be like even like going with the slow flow, but also dropping the joke most of the time?
Yeah. It wasn't like a massive challenge. Maybe a little bit earlier in my career, it would have been, I think, a little bit more difficult. When I was first starting out, it was a little bit harder to switch off like the anime reads, because you want to, you watch anime and sometimes it's so wacky and crazy and big, that's what you think that you need to do. But when I realized, hey, like I can just kind of, do anime like this if the show calls for it, and that's okay. I started, kind of relaxing a little bit on my reads. So for that one, I did start off like a little bit excited just because I wasn't sure like kind of where the character was going to land. But Jade very quickly like was, hey, we're going to try to go for a little bit more of a grounded read, a little bit more of cinematic, a little bit more of this. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, for sure. I can do that. So it wasn't super difficult. It kind of fit the tone of the show anyway, so I kind of had an idea of where I wanted to go, and Jade just pointed me in the right direction. When it came to the jokes, I would just go big if I could, and if it was too big, she would just tell me, hey, that's a little too big, we might need to bring it down a little bit so it's not so goofy where it like takes people out of the show. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Because it's just easier to bring somebody down than it is to like bring somebody up. So I'd much rather go big and then tell me, hey, that's too much, than to not give them enough. And they're like, something's not hitting with this. Like it's not really the moment, you know what I mean? So it wasn't super, super difficult. I kind of assumed Stark was going to be a bit more relaxed whenever he actually is serious, when he's talking about serious topics. And then the comedy stuff, honestly, like I end up getting picked a lot of times for comedy. So being able to hit some of those comedic moments, it wasn't really too challenging. We might get a couple of different takes just to see which one lands the best. But overall, it was a pretty straightforward experience.
Before we move on, what will be that moment from the series so far that really hit you hard? For example, we mentioned during the convention when the demons show, they say, "Oh, we demons are great. We're peaceful demons. We surprise everybody." We talk about take this fish moment.
Oh yeah, like that.
That's the internal joke about Anime USA, guys.
Yeah.
You didn't catch that one because you guys missed Anime USA.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, honestly, a moment that hit, obviously, like, was recording, a lot of the stuff for Stark with his brother and everything like that, and his family. Like, we had seen a lot of funny moments, a lot of regular moments, but we'd never really gotten a chance to see too many serious Stark moments up to that point and kind of see like where he grew up and how he came from. And it was cool to just step into those shoes and, seeing like how his older brother like responded and treated him, well, and what he thought of him. Overall, episode 12 was just one of my favorites to record because it was, it was very real. There's probably people who watch the show who have dealt with something like that. Maybe a family member that treats them poorly or, has high expectations of them to the point where if they fail to meet those expectations, they, will, they'll chastise them or they'll bring them down or they'll make fun of them or belittle them or something like that. So I'm sure it was a very real moment for anime fans who watched where they're like, man, that's kind of me right now, where it's like I've dealt with that kind of harassment and stuff before. So that was a really cool moment, and I did my best to try and bring out the correct emotion.
Definitely. And moving on from peaceful environment to an aggressive environment. We're talking about fighting for being the #1 champion in Japan. Talking about Blue Lock, when you're the catcher of Oishi Tokimitsu.
That's right.
No, they live under a rock. I haven't heard about Blue Lock. What is Project Blue Lock?
So Blue Lock is a great show. It's a soccer anime. It's a sports anime. A lot of people are always like, oh man, sports anime. I don't know, because it's about teamwork and it's always the same thing. This is not that. This is very much egoist, every man for themselves. I want to be the best striker in the world. The way the cast has described it, and this is kind of the best way we've been able to describe it, is it's kind of like Squid Game meets soccer, but instead of them actually dying, their careers just die. And they're not able to play for Japan anymore if they get eliminated from Blue Lock. It's very intense. A lot of internal monologuing from Isagi, who's the main character. And we get a lot of really, really cool characters with different personalities, different looks, different hairstyles. Very colorful show. And it's soccer boosted up to 11. It is absolutely crazy. We all fell in love with the show whenever we got a chance to record for it. And honestly, it was a really, really cool experience being able to be a part of that. Tokimitsu is, like I like to describe, he's kind of like Courage the Cowardly Dog. He's Mr. Anxious. The more anxious he gets, the better he plays. He has endless stamina. He's constantly a worrywart. He's very... what's the word? Neurotic. So everything is just super pessimistic. And I had a blast recording for him because he's kind of, I don't want to say he's the comedy relief of Blue Lock, but we definitely played him like he's the comedy relief of Blue Lock.
I have to confess something about Blue Lock in the English cast. For some reason, every time there's like an announcement about this series, all the voice actors get together like team players. Like I see them on Twitter, on X, or social media. Like we're all together, and you guys like backing up each other. Like it's kind of funny to see like how the voice actor.
Yeah.
Team spirit, even that they're just you're dubbing, but you can see the spirit of team in the anime and the team spirit in the voice cast.
Yeah, we honestly, we kind of grew like a little bit of a family. Rig and I, like Rig is the head director of the show, and I got a chance to be the assistant director for the show on top of playing Tokimitsu. And he did the casting for the show. The most that I was able to do was shoot him a couple of actor recommendations, and he would listen and he would go, hey, this person's really good. This person that you sent me, that you recommended, I really like their voice. I think I'm going to, consider casting them for this role. And I still remember we ended up all going for like pizza. Like we had like a pizza party before the show aired for season 1, just to celebrate all of us being a part of it. And it's funny because I think a lot of us knew how big and how popular the show was going to be before Crunchyroll knew how big it was going to be, because we were trying to promote the crap out of it. And now they're promoting it, and they're like, hey, dude, guys, you should check out Blue Lock. But it's just funny to me because we honestly treated this like it was super, super special. There's a lot of guys in the show, so having to cast it, I'm not jealous of Rig at all, because he had to find 30, 40 different guys to, play these characters. But yeah, it was really cool. And a lot of us are very passionate about Blue Lock. It's very near and dear to a lot of our hearts. So yeah, when somebody gets cast in it, we want to see the show be the best that it can be, the best dub it can be. And we're always super excited when somebody new joins the Blue Lock family. So we always make sure we welcome them in and are like, hey, man, welcome to the show. It's going to be a really good time.
I personally love the fact that, well, I can just think of that pizza party being huge because
it was massive.
The cast is a lot.
It was massive.
I don't remember who we had. that said, oh, this is the infinite cast or the cast that keeps on giving, just because there's just so many guys being cast for this. And it's like, okay, well, it's at least 100. So here we go.
It's a lot. There's definitely, I mean, even with season 2, you know, there's going to be even more characters that are going to be showing up. So it's like, again, I'm not jealous of Rig in the least, because he has got so many people that he's going to need to cast. And I'm like, bro, that's that. I don't know how you have time, but like you're getting it done.
There's something, I can tell you, there's something, because me as a third party person, which I'm not involved in the anime, I know in the industry directly, and most of the voice actors didn't knew them by that time. And suddenly, one of the voice actors we interviewed, he was on Blue Lock. He was promoting everybody, and that person was promoting everybody else. And I'm here like, this is like the spider web where they're all like, we're here together, and they keep celebrating the appearance of this character in English. And it was like, I can tell you, the team spirit, it was real on social media between the English cast. And talking about social media and team spirit and surviving, one of my favorite all-time anime series that it was a piece of gold. I was not expecting to be such great series. Talking about Leon Fo Bartfort in Trap in a Dating Scene.
Yes.
The world of Otome game is tough for mobs. Piece of gold. How you describe this masterpiece?
It's I mean, it's an isekai. It's definitely, so what it is the main character 100% completes a video game that his sister blackmailed him into completing. He gets up, he falls off the stairs, and he dies. And he gets reincarnated into this video game world that he beat. He gets reincarnated as a background NPC, or a mob, as he calls it. The thing is, though, is that he knows the game, and he knows how the game works, so he knows all the answers. So in a way, it's almost like he's a weird cheat code to the game, where the game slowly starts to revolve around him as the main character, even though he's technically supposed to just be a background character. It deals with a lot of comedy. There's really funny, a ton of funny stuff in the show. It deals with just different things, like, you know, guys trying to marry, wealthy women in the show, because that's, like, I guess in the game, like, that's what a guy's status is supposed to be. It has mech battles. It has royalty. It has space, like, pirate stuff. Like, it is so random and funny, and I love the show so much.
It have everything, like everything. Say AI, because Luxion, which is a robot, which I love that character because he wants to destroy humanity, but the only reason he cannot destroy because Leon unlock him and reprone, like, hey, you're going to help me from now on.
Exactly.
He's like, I want to destroy humanity, but my master doesn't allow me. Oh, well, someday I will be able to. And I'm like, this series, what? And again, keep in mind, guys, he is reincarnated not in his favorite video game, not in Zelda.
He hates this game.
The dating sim. Yeah. Dating sim, which is meant for girls, because in this case, the girls like matriarchy, when girls are like guys are supposed to serve the girl in this game.
Exactly. So it's like the guys surf the girls, and they get married to the girls, and then the girls, like, it's a weird thing that the game has.
And we cannot leave behind the fact that Leon, the only girl he tried to date is the queen.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm like, oh god, where this is going? This series pretty. So okay, I'm fanning.
Oh, please, I love the show.
From all this story, tell me, okay, were you expecting a character like this being your role, but being as the main character, doing so much You guys know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I wasn't. When we auditioned for the show, like this is another Jonathan Rigg show. I had only worked with Jonathan a few times with Walla and Bit, like background stuff for a show called Arifureta, season 2. And that's the only time we had really worked together. So he had auditions for the show, and I auditioned, and he liked it, and he said, "Hey man, congratulations, like you're gonna be my Leon." And that was my first lead role ever. Like no other director had ever picked me. And respectfully, like other than Stark, who's a main character, he's not like the lead in Frieren. Frieren's the lead in Frieren. But outside of Stark, like I don't think I actually have had another lead or main character like that. So I go in and I didn't think it was going to be, exactly. So I don't think like, I'm going in, I'm thinking it's going to be just a regular isekai. But by episode 2, I saw how silly it was and how ridiculous. And I saw his attitude, how sarcastic he was and how much of a prick. So I actually decided to incorporate, we wanted to make him a little bit more of like an angry gamer. And I wanted to say things in a way that a lot of people who watch anime maybe have never heard anime done before. I wanted to make it very relatable to people who are just like, yeah, that's what I would say. And that's exactly how I would say it. I'd be extremely sarcastic and I'd be really just a prick. And he doesn't care about this because half of them are NPCs. Actually, all of them are NPCs. So yeah, I just did my best to be funny, to be silly. We threw out ideas, Rigg and I, to each other, and I don't want to say half, but there's quite a bit that we like just improv'd because we thought it'd be funny. Stayed true to the Japanese as best as we could, but the delivery of the lines was a little bit more improv'd and silly and fun. And it feels like a lot of people really liked it.
It is. I'm telling you guys, you haven't seen this series. You just need to relax. Have a good time laughing.
It's probably the funniest series I've ever done.
It is like a buffet. You have everything there. Like, I don't know what we're missing this series. We have magic, we have technology, we have economy class, we have royalty, we have, I don't know, makeup, already mentioned already, dating the wrong girl, the girl who's supposed to be dating him, now they're looking kind of interested, the cute guy who are toxic as hell, the girl who's cute that is the worst, la mala de la novela. So it's like, it's everything there. So what's the first moment, the funny or scene that crossed your mind when we speak about the series?
Yeah. So the first time I knew that this was going to be a bit more funny was in the first episode, whenever he comes back with all of the gold. If you remember at the end of the episode, he comes back with all the gold, and the old woman that his dad's married to is extremely surprised that he's come back alive from this place. And you see him with like this really squinty like white eyes and the open mouth, and he's just like or whatever. And that's what I did for the show, and they thought it was hilarious, so they kept it in there. And I'm like, okay, I think this show's actually going to be really funny. Like, let me see what episode 2 has in store. And then sure enough, episode 2 had a bunch of funny stuff. So I go, okay, this is gonna be a comedy. Like, I'm 100% ready for this.
It is a must watch. I'm really hoping that we have a season 2, because there's so much terrain. And we had the episode with the Queen, the English voice actor, which I can't remember right now.
The English voice actor for the Queen was Kelly Greenshield.
Kelly Greenshield,
yeah,
and she gave us some tips over there about what should be coming on season 2. That was like, oh my god, Kelly said this already, that this is coming. Please, Otaku, let's bring us here that this delivered this here, because we need to see this happening. So now going back to her, let's talk about Jordan. So Jordan, let me, as I understand, your parents are from Puerto Rico.
See, yes.
Born in Florida.
I was born in Florida. They were born in Puerto Rico.
So how do you made it to the English voice acting?
Yeah. So for me, like I mean, I did theater in high school. I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. And then I stopped doing theater to try and get, a real job with, college and everything. And I flunked out. I had a friend of mine who was into anime, and he showed me anime, and I said, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, maybe this is something I could do. I don't need to block any scenes. I don't need to memorize any lines. Like, maybe I can just buy a microphone and give it a shot and see what I can do. So I started taking a couple little classes. I went online. I actually made some friends online that I'm still friends with to this day, and they're professionals in the industry too. Jalen Cassell is a big one. He's a director and an actor, and he was one of my first friends, and he's still very, very close, very near and dear to my heart. But I knew that I wanted to either move to Los Angeles or I wanted to move to Texas. It was one of the two. Ultimately, I decided on Texas just because there was a church in Flower Mound that I wanted to attend. So I moved to Texas, and I worked at Stanley Steamer for about a year while I was taking classes and trying to make things happen. I was able to get my first gig, some Walla and Bits for just a live action show. I was able to book Smite, Vizier Thoth and Smite. And then I got a chance to do some Walla for Black Butler Book of the Atlantic. And that was the first anime project that I got a chance to do. And go figure, it was a theatrical release. So that was pretty cool. And then a couple months later, I was able to break into Crunchyroll thanks to a director whose class I had taken. He knew another director. He was holding auditions, that whole thing. I auditioned and they liked it. So they cast me as a character in a show called Anime-Gataris. And I played a character named Aurora. And from there, it just kind of snowballed a little bit. I started getting called in for Walla, for Bits, a couple little characters. The pandemic happened, so I was doing a lot of Walla and Bits from home with some of my housemates who I was living with at the time. And they were fantastic. They were great. Like, it was a really cool just dynamic that we had in terms of voices. And then from there, when we came back into the studio back in 2022, that's when I booked Leon. And then it really just started hightailing from there, really just started rolling from there. And then I booked, Stark, which was phenomenal. And that's kind of my story. It was, I just wanted to give it a try. And when I realized there's a good chance I could make this a career because other people have, I pursued it. And thankfully, God blessed me to make a career out of this. And I'm very thankful for it.
When you say 2022, I don't know what happened to you, but I feel so lost with time relativity. Like,
I know.
It feels so close, but so far at the same time. So, wait, 2022? That was 2 years ago.
I know. It's crazy. It's
Feels
wild.
like
It
a
doesn't feel
lifetime
like it was
ago.
2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. When people tell me, I'm like, wait, was that too far ago or is too close? Or too close? I don't know how to feel already at this point. But I'm kind of curious with this. So in Puerto Rico, honestly, it's very rare when parents support when their kids go to the arts area. I call in Puerto Rico in Spanish Bellas Artes.
Sí.
Good translation in English for that.
Fine arts.
Fine art, thank you. So, honestly, in Puerto Rico, there's a big philosophy. Like, if you go to the fine arts, perfect. You're going to unemployment line because of. And also, I had to admit that Puerto Rico or culture and government doesn't support that much that industry. So, in your case, when you decided to go to the fine arts, how was the support from your parents?
I mean, they were a little bit worried. It wasn't like a no, like you can't do this, but it was a little bit more of like are you sure you want to do this? Like, why don't you just do it as a hobby? Like, why don't you find like an actual like job where it's steady, a 9-to-5, something that you enjoy, go back to school, like be like a scientist or be like, just do something, and then do acting on the side for fun. And And, you know, I told him, I said I didn't want to. I said I wanted to try to make this a career. And it's like, at the time, I had never really done too much with my life, career-wise. Like, I had worked at a grocery store for 8 years. I had worked previously at Stanley Steamer before for 6 months. I worked at a place called Braille Works for 8 months. It was a desk office job. And it was fine. It was good. Like, the people there were very nice. But I knew I wanted to make something. I knew I wanted to at least try because, you know, time, and I don't want to sit there and go, oh, I was in a midlife crisis while I was 25, you know, because I don't think that's possible. But I sat there, you know, and I was hanging out with some friends that I would hang out with on Friday nights. I called it Stevie Night Fridays because we were hanging out at my friend Steven's house. And I got to thinking, man, you know, these guys, they're starting to make something with their lives. One of my friends, you know, he's going to Hawaii because, you know, he works a military job and he's wanted to go to Hawaii and he finally made it happen. Another friend of mine is getting married. Another friend of mine's going to school to try and be a firefighter or a paramedic, like one of those two. I said, we're not going to be here. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I don't want to look at the next 10 years and still be working an office job, coming here on Friday nights. I don't think I'm going to be satisfied with my life if I don't at least give this a try and see if I can make it work out. So I told my parents, you know, I'm gonna give it a try, and they were like, okay, you know, you can give it a try. If in 6 months it doesn't work out, you can always come back here. We'll welcome you with open arms. And then it did, and my family's very, very proud. They're very happy with like the success, and they're like, hey, Jordan, you made it happen. Like, you know, you defied the odds and you know, you made a career out of this. My grandma, from time to time, I love her. She'll still sometimes be like, are you sure you don't want to at least get maybe like a backup job or something? But you know, I mean, it's my grandma, and she just wants the best, you know, for me. So I'm very appreciative of her and like, and her concern for that. And I always tell her, I'm like, this is what I love to do. And I truly believe, like, if this is what I'm meant to do, you know, God will provide a way. And, you know, if it's not what I'm meant to do, then he'll close that door. So that's kind of how I see things. And I'm just, you know, I'm enjoying my time acting, at least for now. And I hope I'm able to do it for the rest of my life. Sorry that was like a long-winded answer, by the way.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful, honestly.
Thank you.
Thanks to you for sharing that story, because honestly, I think that's one of the challenges that many of us who are Hispanic and Puerto Rican, Hispanic especially, we go those who decided to go through the arts go through that same cycle. Parents say, hey, why did you get a job? And even with our Spanish episode, many times we hear this. Even in Mexico City, for those who doesn't know Spanish dub, Mexico City right now is the core of Spanish dub for all and anything which is Spanish dub. And we have to be honest here, they are like the lead right now. So being the lead, they're very industry centralized, how to promote, create, they have a school. It's a whole system where they're like very built system. Even with that being that environment surrounding the youngster who decided to go through the arts, they get questioned by the parents, are you sure want to do this? Do you want to be a lawyer, engineer, a doctor, or scientific or something? So
I mean, it's the struggle, you know, of being Latino. Like, you know, it's been hard for our people. So it's like, I can see why parents are like, hey, we just want to make sure that you find something that's successful, because it was hard for us. You know, a lot of Latinos grow up, you know, in poor places, in you know, cities that are a little bit less income. So it's like, I can understand parents being like, we want you to have a good job because we don't want you to live like this. Right. So I understand, but it can sometimes be like tough, because you're like, I get it, but also I want to do my own thing. So I completely understand.
It is the beauty of life, doing those balance between all forces, because we have to, like you mentioned, our parents, the previous generation, they went through some hard times. They're not even close to where they are today. But during those times, in those professions was the meaning, the definition of successful in life. And to this day, those definitions are very blurry. But again, time change. We all living probably in the next 20 years, going to be the one giving hard advice to the
Yeah,
next
exactly.
But moving on from those complicated environments to kind of confuses world when they're struggling to survive too. Talking about Hell's Paradise when you have the character of Senta Yamada.
Asaemon, yeah. Yamada Asaemon Senta, yeah. He was, so Hell's Paradise is a crazy show. It's very colorful. It's very violent, very bloody. Not a show that you should probably watch, like have your kids watch. But it was a very good show. Honestly, I loved my character very much. He was a character that I was hoping to play. We didn't have any auditions for the show whenever it came to the dub. And I remember looking through the characters and I'm like, man, they're going to be dubbing Hell's Paradise this season. I would love to play this character. And 2 weeks later, I kid you not, in my email, they go, hey, Jordan, would you be interested in playing Senta? And I'm like, hold up a second. I'm like, that's the character. I'm like, that's the character that I wanted to play. Like, I'm showing my wife. But I love the character. He's very innocent, very smart character, intellectual. The show's premise is you have these criminals that go to this island that nobody's ever come back from to try and grab the elixir or like the fountain of youth for eternal life. And each of these criminals are paired with a Yamada Asaemon, who essentially is a swordsman that will instantly behead them should they try to escape the island, or should they try anything like violent against them. It's essentially their guardian, like think of like a criminal and like a cop next to them trying to like make sure that they don't do anything bad. Only they'll kill them if they do. And my character, like I said, very innocent, very smart, a little bit of a comedy relief just because, he's not really a fighter. He'll fight if he has to, but he uses his brain a little bit more. And he's paired with Yuzuria, who's another character played by Jill Harris. She plays Fern. So that's 2 shows where Jill and I play like a anime partner like crew. But it's a great show. Very heavy scenes of, like I said, violence. And it's just it's a quality show. Like the leads, Alejandro and Marissa for Gabimaru, and oh goodness, I forgot the girl's name. Sairi. Yeah, both of them did phenomenal. And I can't remember. I don't think that was Marissa's first lead. I think Horimiya was, but she was phenomenal as Sagari-san. Like, it was such a good performance.
Yeah, definitely. And Health Paradise have a lot of elements that really shock you as a viewer. Mm-hmm. What would be that element that first crosses your mind about when we say Health Paradise? For example, for me, the one that really hit me hard was all the monks and all those like culture mixture, like religion mixture that we experience in this world.
Yeah, it was interesting to see because, like, I mean, even my character mentions it where he's like, this doesn't really make any sense. This is like a mixture of like a bunch of religions all at once, and it doesn't, there's no, because it's such like a melting pot of religious things, like none of it makes sense. It's like you have this Buddhist thing here, but this Taoist thing here, and then this thing here, and it's like, if it was just one religion, that would make sense. But because it's all 3 that are incorporating like the style of these statues and like what's on this island, it's like, I don't get it. Like, this island's a huge mystery. And on top of that, we have these weird monsters that are like half animal, half human. Like, it's the body of like a human, but like the head of a fish. And you know what I mean? And it was things like that I was like, this is weird. And I remember just recording it and I'm looking at the director. I'm like, what are these creatures? Like, what this is, I'm a little confused. And he's like, Yeah, they're the things on the island. So yeah. So yeah, that was some of the stuff that caught my eye as well.
Definitely. And moving on from anime to video game, because many times video games and anime, they have a very deep relationship in secret.
Yeah.
And many people try to separate it, but like, yep, no, don't separate them. Wait, they'll go hand by hand in many times. I'm talking about one of those games. We have Octopath Travelers 2, where you have the character of Temenos Mistral.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, no, Octopath Traveler 2 was a really, really fun game. It's my first Square Enix game, and I remember auditioning for this. Never heard back for like a month, so I thought that I didn't book it, so I delete the email, and 2 days later, they go, "Hey, Jordan, are you interested in voicing Temenos?" I said yes. I recorded all of it from home. The game is... I don't want to say it's a sequel to the first game. I mean, maybe, but maybe not. I haven't gotten a chance to play it, so I couldn't 100% tell you. I've just watched my wife play it a little bit. But Temenos is the cleric that you can pick in the second game. He's very sarcastic and sassy, but he's also lovable. You know, he stays calm. He keeps a cool head. He doesn't let anything upset him or bother him. He knows how powerful of a cleric he is. So nothing really ever phases him, like having to do battle and stuff. He's also different because he at night will coerce people and he'll like attack them to get answers out of them. So it's like, oh, hey, we have a cleric who, he's straight up just like fighting somebody to get answers out of them. So that's a lot of fun, and a lot of people really like that dynamic of him. And then lastly, he's, obviously he's very smart because he's a cleric. He doubts a lot of his catchphrases. Doubt is what I do. So that's his catchphrase. And the reason he says it is because he doubts a lot of like the church and the government and like what's happening. He's like, hey, I work for them, but I always sleep with one eye open because things are not what they seem. And if you believe just wholeheartedly, it's going to bite you in the butt. So always sleep with one eye open and always doubt what people tell you because you never know if they're actually telling the truth. And that's kind of his thing and his story.
And to wrap it up, one of the latest anime series that you have to help me here to understand the dub release. And we know the season 2 has been announced.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about Windbreaker, we had the character of Taiga.
I think it's like Tsugeura. I think that's how we pronounce it. I don't know.
Okay, I'm glad.
I got the character with the hardest name. Windbreaker's a really good one. I don't want to keep you guys too long. But Windbreaker's a really solid show. It's a show, a lot of people have described it a little bit like Tokyo Revengers, but without the time traveling. And some people even said it's better than Tokyo Revengers. I've never seen Tokyo Revengers, so I couldn't tell you. But I do know Windbreaker's a great show. It deals with Haruka Sakura, who's the main character. He goes to a school of delinquents, and these delinquents, they watch over the town. They're kind of like the protectors of the town. And it's kind of turf war, gang war type-esque anime. For the first season, there's a whole arc of 2 of the schools going up against each other, and they're doing like 1-versus-1 fist fights. And it's very much, hey, we're going to do this fist fight, but then after the fight, oh, hey, I got to understand you through our fists, and I got to understand the type of person you are, and you're just such a wonderful human being, and I was wrong about you, and it's stuff like that. But it's a really great show. Honestly, I know a lot of people were excited for Kaiju number 8, and I was excited for Kaiju number 8, but for me, Windbreaker was the show that I knew I wanted to be a part of, and that I felt was going to be just a really, really nice, popular, like, quality show. So the fact that I actually got a chance to be a part of it was a huge blessing. And it's funny because my character is very much into professional wrestling, and I like professional wrestling. He also likes banana protein shakes. I like banana protein shakes. And he's a big goofball. He's very what's the word to describe? I don't want to call him a meathead because he's not dumb, but he's a little bit meatheadish and very loud, obnoxious, but not in like a aggressive way. He just likes to talk loud, and it's a great show. Season 2, I think, is going to be in January, if I'm not mistaken. At least that's what Japan says. So I'm ready for it.
I think it's more like a musclehead. Everything.
Yeah. I guess that would be a good way, like musclehead, And he's just lovable and he's fun.
And I'm laughing here because Austin Tindall said exactly your words. People say it is like
Tokyo Revengers.
It's better. And you're like, yep, that's the second voice actor to say exactly those words.
Like I said, I've never seen Tokyo Revengers, so I'm not gonna dog on it. But fans have come up to me and they've told me that it was better than Tokyo Revengers, and I'm like, I'll believe you because this is a good show.
Quick question about the dub release. For this series, it was released all together in one release, the 12th episode, right? Because I thought it was
12 or
like
13.
13, and they were all released at the same time, right?
No. For this one, it was a weekly simuldub schedule that we did. So it was releasing once every, like one episode a week. And it was, like I said, I think 12 or 13 episodes. And my character breathes in a few episodes, and that's it. And then it's not until episode 11 that him and Drew Breedlove's character finally show up and become a part of the crew and actually talk quite a bit. So I had a little bit of waiting to do before my character really showed up.
And I
can just imagine you being called in. Hey Jordan, we need you to come in, and then it's like 5 minutes, and all you're doing is.
That's
just the
pretty much
reaction.
what happened. That's literally what happened. It was like, hey Jordan, you're coming in, and I'm like, am I breathing? They're like, yeah. I'm like, all right. And then that was it. And they're like, all right, you're done. And I'm like, okay, thanks for the money, I guess. That was fulfilling. So it was really cool.
Jordan, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a great time. For those, any words of advice for anybody in the industry, whatever?
For sure. Honestly, like, if you guys are interested in pursuing voice acting, like, I think I'm a good example of somebody who, I didn't know necessarily what I was doing at first, but I pursued it and I gave it a shot. And I remember being on the other side of the guest table as a fan. And now, 10 years later, I'm able to guest at some of these conventions. And, half of that is, obviously like training, taking classes, working on my craft, maybe a little bit of, luck, maybe a little bit of, this director wants to work with me or that director. But honestly, if you guys are interested in doing voice acting, I say pursue it. I said this in the panel in Frieren. It was either the Frieren panel or the Blue Lock panel, but if you want to do voice acting just as a hobby, like, that's totally fine. There's no, don't let people sit there and go, what, you're not making a career out of it? Like, oh, you're just a hobbyist. Like, no, if you're passionate about it and you're just like, hey, I'm just happy doing it as a hobby, do it as a hobby. And if you want to pursue it as a career, do that, but just know it's a pretty tough road. Take classes, work on your craft, be a good actor. That way, when you actually, say you move to Texas to work with Crunchyroll, hey, they're going to call you. If they call you in, you're already prepared and you're already ready to show them, hey, I can take direction and I'm a good actor. And also, if people have questions, asking, that's a big one. Like, a lot of voice actors are more than happy to help people. As long as the questions are informative and you really mean, like, you really want to learn, and it's not just, hey, how'd you do this? Like, can you get me roles? Can you get me an audition? It's like, no, I can't do that. Don't ask me that. But if you're genuinely curious, a lot of voice actors are very open to helping out and helping people come in, because it is a fun industry, and it's one that's very fulfilling the more that you're able to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. For those who haven't followed you yet, which social media they should follow?
So my social media, I have Twitter or X, and I have an Instagram, both of which are Dash Cruz VA, so DASH CRUZ VA. That's both for Instagram and for Twitter. I hop on there from time to time. Like I said, if people have questions, they can message me and go, hey, I had a question about this, and I'll do my best to answer it in a timely fashion. Sometimes it's a little difficult just because of busy scheduling. And sometimes I'm just dumb and I look at the message and then I forget. And then it's like, oh, I'll look 2 weeks later and I'll go, I never responded to this. Whoopsie. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
And you have a hard time writing that social media, you can go down to the description of this video, expand the description of this video, and find over there Jordan link to his social media. And because you already made it over there, we humbly beg you, at this point we're not asking, we're begging you for you to subscribe on YouTube. On YouTube, please, and all other social media like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, whatever I'm missing too. Another one I'm missing too.
Just all of them.
You can go to Google, you can find everything over there. I promise you. And who knows which convention you're going to be hitting next. I lost track of our schedule at this point. So
yeah, we'll see. I know for me, I think the next event I've got potentially, and I'm double checking on this one, but I believe I may be doing Anime Week in Atlanta potentially. But don't 100% quote me. But if you end up seeing an announcement, then that will absolutely confirm that I'm doing that event. But we'll see.
Just follow him and you'll see if it's confirmed.
Jordan, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I will see you in the next episode. Sayonara.
Bye.